Okay, so this is an open meeting of the Conflicts of Interest Board. We have two open meeting matters. The chair will call us to order.
Call to order, let's proceed.
And Catherine Miller, the board special counsel, will serve as the recording secretary. And for the first open meeting matter, Associate Counsel Claire Wiseman will give the introductory remarks.
Good morning. At the August 2023 board meeting, the board considered proposed amendments to Board Rule Section 1-02 regarding what public servants have substantial policy discretion, also known as policymakers. The board directed staff to obtain more information about a proposed addition to the definition of policymaker that would capture all public servants in the top 4 levels of management at very large city agencies as policymakers. After reviewing the organizational charts from several city agencies, including the largest 3, staff found that agencies are not designating public servants in ways that directly correspond to where the policymaker is on the organizational chart, within the hierarchy. Staff now believes that the definition of policymaker should remain unchanged. Instead, staff proposes to deal with this issue on an agency-by-agency basis. Staff would contact agencies that appear to have incorrectly designated public servants on their policymaker report, which must be submitted to the board, and work with those agencies to ensure their designations are appropriate. Staff continues to recommend that the board move forward with the other proposed amendments to Board Rule Section 1-02, which are unchanged from the proposals discussed at the August 2023 board meeting.
So any comments from board members, concerns?
How will you identify which agencies to contact, which appear to be misdesignated?
So we've looked at we put together a list of the agencies and how many policymakers they have, along with the number of employees, and along with the organizational charts that they provide us, which is part of the proposed amendments. We would review all of that to see if there's any inconsistencies at an agency.
Right, but you know, essentially you can look at an agency and say, look, this agency these 2 agencies are of a similar size. This one is designating twice as many people as policymakers. That might be a place where we'd start to look at maybe they're over designating. There are too many people who are being designated there. But figuring out who the people are who are over designated actually requires a little bit of looking at, you know, what is this person's job responsibilities? And vice versa, right? An agency that seemed to be under designating, we do the same thing, looking for people who seem to have been left off that should have been included. And maybe after doing this for some period of time, we may come back with a suggestion about, you know, a blanket approach or some other sort of strategy for changing the definition to make it a little, you know, easier to kind of follow without having to do a case-by-case analysis. But I think until we've done that, until we've sort of had that experience, we're probably not in a position to recommend something like that, which is why we're now suggesting to not change it, contrary to our prior proposal, and instead just move forward with the procedural changes that we recommended.
Yeah, I would strongly be in favor of that. I think your initial investigations sort of confirm our gut and your experience that there are agencies that are over-inclusive, and there are agencies that are under-inclusive. That's really more of like a qualitative, not a quantitative analysis, right?
Yep.
Like the big 3, as you suspected, it's like 0.01%, 0.02%, 0.03%.
It's very small.
Yeah, it's very, very small. But then you have like these random agencies, like I had in my notes, Department of Cultural Affairs has like 20%.
So yeah, it's a large percentage.
That doesn't make any sense.
Right.
So I think this is an iterative process. You have to go back and, you know, I don't want to micromanage you guys. Do your job better than anybody, so just figure out how to do it. But there are 2 issues, and we have to figure out how to do it from a qualitative and a quantitative perspective. But I do like the idea of looking at comparable agencies, because like the DAs, they seem to be similar. There's like 1 or 2 outliers, but they kind of seem to be similar, like just from my reading of that exhibit, they were like 1% to 2%, except for like one of the VAs. So maybe that's like a benchmark for that particular kind of agency. But I think the issue here is gonna be what are the benchmarks for each particular agency?
Right, yeah, that's what we're thinking now too. And obviously, different agencies, perform different functions, and so it's not gonna be a fits all kind of approach is not gonna work, at least for most agencies, I think.
10 or 15 years, when you're done with this project, they come back and say, we recommend a salary cutoff to be adjusted by inflation, because this is a tough
Yeah.
endeavor. Good luck.
Thank you. Any other questions, concerns? So can we get a motion to move this forward to the law department and the mayor's office of operations?
Could I ask one quick question? And I'm all in favor of this. Maybe this is from Catherine. The change in the definition of policymaker to refer to 12.110 is really just codifying what's already in the statute, right?
Yes.
Policymakers substantial policymakers have policymaking positions, or whatever the language is.
Right. In the annual disclosure law, employees with policymaking positions have to file, and the definition of policymaking positions is board rules.
So this is no change.
So no change for us.
Thanks.
So then, a motion to.
So moved.
Okay, and second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you, so that passes, and we will move that forward to the law department and mayor's office of operations toward a public hearing. And now we'll bring quick staff change here for the second open meeting matter, which will be presented by Deputy General Counsel Chris Hammer. So Chris, you want to take it away?
Yes, thank you. The proposed amendments to the board rules for enforcement actions, first considered at the board's September 2023 open meeting, returned to the board for final approval after the comment period and public hearing. The board received one comment from the New York City Office of Administrative Trials and Hearings, and in light of that comment, staff proposes a revision that would allow an oath administrative law judge to modify the length and order of closing statements upon motion for good cause shown. With this revision, staff recommends that the board adopt the rule.
Any questions? Okay, so moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. This rule will be submitted to the city record and will take effect 30 days after publication.
Great, and so that will close our open meeting.